Coach, will you be able to approach this playoff series against Denver differently defensively because you have Yusuf?
Differently than what?
Than how you guarded it in 2019.
Well, the first thing, I want to dispel any comparisons to 2019. I think both teams only have 4 players playing in this series that played in that series.
Okay.
So
how about the way you guard Jokic then?
Oh, well, certainly having Nurkic, and we didn't have Nurk in that series, changes our ability to keep a big body on him. And, Nurk and his defensive abilities versus Ennis, it is different. And so from that aspect, there's no question that that we'll be able to do some things differently than we did 2 years ago with regard to Jokic.
Care to reveal what those differences would be?
Coming back to Aaron Fentress.
Hey, Coach, based at least on analytics, at some point in the season, Anthony Simons was one of the worst defensive rated players in the league. Clearly, he's turned the corner. You've talked about it and about why he's in the 8-man rotation. It's partly because he's improved on defense. At what point did he turn the corner? What allowed him to turn the corner, and what's made him a pretty good defender?
I can't answer specifically to any of that. It just I think it evolved. I think when we tighten the rotations, the players that he's out there with, his being out there with Nurk a little bit more probably helps. The one thing that really has worked well, and I wouldn't have guessed it, at the start of the second quarter when it's CJ, Norm, and Melo and Ennis, that lineup has been pretty successful. So part of it might be combinations, part of it might be experience. It's hard to say, but it came at the right time.
But it's something that you notice as just being pretty obvious, right? Well,
I think it's obvious in that his mistakes, that you don't notice his mistakes. Doesn't seem like there's many times where he's making defensive mistakes. I think he's probably learning a little bit more, but a lot of times defense is the absence of mistakes.
Thanks.
Roy James.
Terry, a lot of times in the past with really good players, you've tried to mix it up a little bit with your defense and do different things with them. Is that kind of what you have to do with Jokic too? Do you have to give him different looks, or do you think there's some sort of formula that you can use with him most of the time?
With great players, I don't know if there's a formula for any great player. But the challenge for him is that, or for us with him, is that he's more than just a scorer. He has a great ability to make his teammates better. His passing is as much of a threat as his scoring. He gets the ball in all kinds of different positions. So it's not like, he's always a left block guy. What are we going to do with him on the left block? There's such a variety to his game that it's not like we can do a steady diet to take away one thing because he does so many things.
Krista Salta, Sport DNA.
Well, speaking about the defense, how many steps forward that you feel that you made, especially in the last 10-game stretch? And what would you like to maintain to the series against the Nuggets?
Didn't I already answer this question? Didn't I say 9 steps? No, the obvious, we've improved the last 12 games. You look at our defensive rating, you look at our offensive rating, you look at our point differential. We've just been doing a lot of things well. We've had a major uptick defensively. Our efficiency offensively has been pretty good. So it's not one thing or what steps that we've improved. I think across the board that we're playing better. And I'll say this too, is that I don't know when Nurk got off of minutes restrictions and, Dame got healthy. I think our health has certainly been one of those things as well.
Jason Quick, The Athletic.
Coach, in a that playoff time, how does CJ's shot making ability kind of become more magnified, or do you think it becomes more magnified?
Yeah, I do. I think in playoff basketball, when you have guys who can create shots, make shots, teams get scouted, you play a 7-game series, everybody gets very comfortable. So if you have players like Dame and CJ who can manufacture shots or manufacture opportunities, that's a lot of times the difference in playoff basketball, because at some point in the series, there's not a lot new, and then it's about making plays, and that's what CJ can do.
And he has mentioned, one of the new things to his repertoire is his left hand a lot in his shots. And he mentioned how, his family and his trainers and stuff didn't like the shot. Did you ever have any aversion to it?
No, like anything, if I see guys practicing shots and developing the shots, it's a process. You gotta do it in the gym and practice it, and then you gotta have the courage to do it in a game, and maybe it doesn't work right away, but you gotta have, I think you gain a lot of confidence with repetition of it, and that's what the great ones have always done. They come back with something, and it may or may not work at first, but you gotta trust it. And as a coach, I think that's one of the things you always have to, not even with a player like CJ, but even young players, if you're asking them to practice stuff, you got to allow them to do it in a game and possibly fail in a game until they gain confidence in doing it.
Dwight James, NBC Sports.
Terry, what you said about CJ being able to create shots, get shots, etc., sort of begs the question: what are the Nuggets missing without Murray?
One of those guys. I just watched our first game with them this year, and the 2-man game with fourth quarter was all Murray and Jokic. They arguably the best 2-man game in the league. He can shoot threes. He plays well off the ball with a great passer. Can create his own shot. But I think without him, I think what they missed the most is the 2-man game with him and Jokic.
Amara, did you have any questions?
I did not. Thank you, Jacob.
Hey, thanks for asking, though.
All right, looks like Jason has one more, and then we'll call it.
Yeah, Coach, can you just speak to the luxury that you have this year of having Yusuf in the playoffs? What that means for you?
Well, it's when you think that Nurk hasn't. It's hard to believe that Nurk really doesn't have that much playoff experience, having missed that series before. But having him in the playoffs is like having him in the regular season. He was an integral part of our roster this year, and going into the season, that was an integral part of it. Even though he came back for the bubble last year, that was all kind of new and fresh for him as well. So to have him at full strength, healthy, being able to play his full minutes, it's really important for our team. And that's probably an understatement.